Welcome to a brand new day on Coffee with Alain. We are going to talk about the new movie Spider-Man, Brand New Day. It's the movie I've been waiting for the most this summer, and because today is the opening day, but movie theaters are showing movies the day before opening day in most places now. I went to the movie last night with my wife and really enjoyed it, and that's what we're going to be talking about this morning on Coffee with Alain. I appreciate everybody who joins me live and comments, watches replays, listens to the audio podcast, whether it's at my website, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Thank you to everybody for helping this podcast, Coffee with Alain, grow and get out to more and more people. You are all greatly appreciated. Now, it should be pretty obvious. I'm a Spider-Man fan. Yes, I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt. I love the saying that's on the bottom. You can't really see it as much. I'll raise it up here a little bit. With great power comes great responsibility. Love that saying. I've loved it ever since. Read it the first time years ago. I mean, Stan Lee created it before I was born, but I've always liked that. I've always liked Spider-Man, whether it was the comics, the cartoons, the TV series back in the 80s, if you remember those. Liked all of those. And I love the new movies. And these ones with Tom Holland have been just fantastic. You know, I'm even drinking out of, you guessed it, a Spider-Man mug. Big mug with Spider-Man on there. So I went all out for the new movie, Brand New Day, shirt, mug, and movie and Coffee with Alain topic all coordinated. So let's talk a little bit about the movie. If you're a fan, you know at the end of the last movie a couple years ago, Doctor Strange did a spell to save everything, but it made everyone forget who Peter Parker and Spider-Man were because it had been revealed that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Even his girlfriends and Dan, his best friend Ned, they didn't know who he was. So in this movie, he's sort of all alone, and he wants to get the relationship back, and he wants to have his friend back, but he's hesitant and holding back, and he's just fighting crime, and he's helping the police, he's helping New York fight crime, and that's what he's doing. And I don't want to give spoilers, so I'm not going to give the whole story. However, there are some great characters. Punisher is in the movie. That's not a spoiler because if you saw the trailers and the interviews with John Bernthal, you know that the Punisher is in the film. And I really like that because that's another character that I really like. And I like that they brought John Bernthal from the series where he started at Netflix and moved to Disney. Now he actually had a part in this film with Spider-Man. So that was cool to have the Punisher in there. There were other Marvel characters in there, and some I'm not going to talk about because it might be a spoiler to some. So some were a little surprising. I didn't think they were going to go there. But it was cool to see the different Marvel characters and see the progression and the growth of the Spider-Man character. So I did really enjoy it. However, with all of that said, I didn't feel closure and I wanted more. And that was probably done on purpose because they are going to make more. And they left it in a place where it's like, I want to know what happens next. I want to see where it goes. And so now we got to wait. And there will be more Spider-Man. And hopefully they'll continue this story and we will get some closure and see where things go. Because this one didn't feel finished. You want more. You want to see what else is going to happen. That's the only thing about this movie that I didn't like. Is like, how long do we have to wait to see where things go? But everything else I really enjoyed. Special effects obviously were fantastic. The story development, I like where they're taking the characters, even though it wasn't as dynamic and huge as maybe some people would want. My wife actually said she liked a couple of the earlier ones better than this one. But I still like that the continuation of these characters I mean, Tom Holland's a great Spider-Man. Zendaya is a great MJ, a girlfriend. Loved having the Punisher in there. Loved having Bruce Banner. You've seen him in the previews. So that's not a spoiler. Liked some of the other characters that went in, and was left really wanting to know where they're going to go next. That's the thing. Where are they going to go next? And I'm excited to see that. It just sucks that we're going to have to wait a while. Now, will the Spider-Man character be in the Avengers movie in December? Possibly. We'll see, because they're all sort of connected, and he's been in Avengers movies before. And that would be cool if that helps carry on the story. But I still want to see another full Spider-Man movie to carry out some of the other stuff. So I'm hoping Spider-Man's in the Avengers in December. But then I'm hoping that they work their butts off and get the new Spider-Man and continue the story where we don't have to wait too awful long. So that's my thoughts on the new Spider-Man movie without spoiling it for anybody, which I don't want to do. Now, I will tell you something. If you remember a couple of years ago, if you've been with me that long, when the previous Spider-Man movie came out, there was an article in the newsletter talking about, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, as a preview, you can probably expect something like that, maybe a revision of that article to come in this week's newsletter, which you can get at enjoylifesafely.com. You ought to be signed up for that. And I may even do a longer blog post on the topic, just because I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, and it's timely because the movie just came out. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. I'll have my mug. I'll look at that old newsletter article. I'll try to add to it, make it bigger, better for this week's newsletter, and even bigger and better for the blog. So that's sort of my plans for Spider-Man. And with great power comes great responsibility. Any power comes responsibility. And we need to always remember that. Let me say hello to a few people before I leave today. Got a number of comments I'm going to catch here. I want to say good morning to Jay and Vicky and Sasha. Thank you guys for being here and saying good morning. Good morning, Thad. Thank you for being here and saying good morning. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Dixon. Dixon said, here's another Stan Lee quote that's worth to mention. Excelsior. Exactly. Stan Lee was a genius. I mean, what he created, the empire that he started, the things that he did. I loved it when he was still alive, and they always put the cameos of him in the movies. Thank you, Dixon. Dixon also said, I love Frank Castle, but he is rather dark from a psychological perspective. Yes, he is. And John Berthal does a great job in the series, and I enjoyed him in the movie. And they weren't brooding on some of the darkness like some of the series did. It was a little lighter with him and back and forth, but there was some good stuff with him and Spider-Man. And Tom and John are actually friends, and they said they really enjoyed working on back-to-back movies because they were both in the Odyssey movie, and then they were both in this movie. So they said they enjoyed working together on these couple movies because they've been friends for quite a while, apparently. Jay said, like Yoga says, Merceding. I'm not 100% sure on that one, Jay. You got me there. Good morning, Richard. Appreciate you being here and saying good morning. Jay said, so does my daughter, liking Spider-Man, I'm guessing. Richard said, Dixon, back in the day, my dad bought me the first Punisher appearance comic when I was homesick from school. Yeah, I have a number of the big graphic novels, the collections of Punisher and stuff. So Punisher, Spider-Man, two of my favorites as well. Good morning, Kellen. Thank you for joining and saying good morning. I appreciate all of you for joining and saying hello. Appreciate everybody listening later, watching later, wherever you're at. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter. You'll get a little bit more Spider-Man this weekend if you get the newsletter, because I'm going Spider-Man all out. Shirt, mug, movie, newsletter, blog. It's a Spider-Man week. Go out, make it a fantastic Friday. Excelsior, and I'll see you tomorrow.